Guys, Tinker Taylor here today, bringing you back another Pokemon build series video. Today we have Vileplume, who is the final evolution of Oddish. And if you've ever heard of I think it's called the Stinking Corpse Lily, or Rafflesia, I believe it's called as well, like that's its actual name. If you've ever heard of that particular flower, that's basically what this Pokemon looks like. In fact, I believe in Japanese, the name for this Pokemon is Rafflesia, which is, yeah, like a very similar version to the actual flower's name. So yeah, if you've not seen that flower, I'll describe the Pokemon and maybe you'll kind of, maybe you'll know what the flower looks like. But the Pokemon has a thick blue body. It's kind of like, you know how some flowers have really thick stalks and some of them have really thin stalks? This one's a thick stalk. It's got little arms and little legs. They're all blue. But on top of its head, kind of sitting like a little beret, is like the flower bit. So they are 5 thick pink reddy petals with white spots all over them. And then in the middle there's like it kind of, it's going to sound silly, but it kind of looks like a cannon, like a little water cannon, like just like an inch, I don't know, a few centimeters. But I imagine that's where it like shoots out spores out of its head. So that is the Pokemon. And when I saw the little bit that I assume shoots out spores out of the top of its head, I instantly thought of the scene from Percy Jackson where they're in the casino and kind of just like losing track of time and they're not really paying attention and, you know, all that sort of jazz. That's kind of what I thought of. And yeah, I thought I might build, well, the idea was, it was casino / nightclub, and then I actually got to building and I was like, how am I supposed to build a casino? And I always look up, you know, Sims 4 and then whatever I'm trying to build, so that I can see what other people have done. And when I looked up casino, somebody's done a casino and it is a no CC casino. It's absolutely amazing, absolutely mind-bogglingly amazing. And that would probably take me an entire week to do. So yeah, I decided to pivot and do a nightclub. Still with sort of the same sort of vibes of like, you know, once you are in here, you kind of get trapped in time and you don't really realize that you've wasted like days here. So that's kind of the goal, I guess. And it is still pretty pack heavy, I guess, like with the new pack. But I don't know, I'm kind of, I feel like I do that a lot with packs. I will start using a pack and then realize like, oh, I've kind of used this pack a lot. But don't worry, the build I do for tomorrow is a lot less pack heavy. Not pack heavy, a lot less, I mean, I think it is also a lot less pack heavy, but it's also a lot less business and hobbies heavy. I don't even know if I use business and hobbies in that build. But this one, yeah, we kind of go a little bit overboard. It is super fancy and bougie, and I think I would hate being here personally, just because I already know the type of people who would be here, and like okay, let me put it this way, there are people who would go here who I would love to hang out with. I think you know, some of my friends and I might go here every once in a while just to try something different and new, and you know, ooh, like look at what we're doing. But I feel like there's 2 groups of people who would go here mainly, and one of those groups of people I wouldn't mind running into. They're just people who like nice things and like to have a nice time. But then the other group are the one I don't want to run into, and they're the people who want nice things and have a nice time, but are the sort of people who kind of do it at the expense of others, and that's the group I want to avoid. So yes, I would probably meet some really, really lovely people here. I just want to kind of avoid other people who might not fit the vibe that I'm looking for to hang out with. So yeah, look, I don't know if I would go here. Maybe if maybe if I knew the people who, like, maybe if they're, like, hosting an event or something, but, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like this is really my place to sort of hang out. It's a bit too bougie and fancy, and I'd be terrified of, like, breaking a glass or something and then being like, oh, that's $10,000, please, to fix that glass or to replace it. I would not do well in a place like that. I don't know, I just get very stressed in places that are very bougie and fancy and nice. I feel a little overwhelmed. I always feel underdressed, and yeah, I just feel a little bit out of place. So I think I'd much prefer, you know, I much prefer house parties over bars. And it doesn't even have to be a party, just like house hangouts, I guess, is the best way to put it. I prefer to be in a comfortable space, you know, if there's, I was gonna say, if there's people I don't like, but that's not really gonna happen, because the people, like, if I'm having a house party, I'm really going to invite people that I like, but if I'm going to a house party, I know the people who are going to be there, so, yeah, it's a lot easier, it's a lot nicer, a lot more chill, and, yeah, I don't know, I feel like that's much more my scene. But that doesn't mean I'm not happy to build such builds. I do love building really fancy bougie places, even though I do feel very uncomfortable in them. I do like looking at pretty things, so sometimes I do try and do pretty builds. I say sometimes because the build you're gonna get tomorrow is intentionally not pretty. It's, the nicest way to put it, ugly. It's ugly, but it's meant to be. So, you know, it's kind of good that we have a little mix of not so ugly and absolutely ugly. Because I feel like I should balance it. I feel like I should, you know, do a bit of ugly building over here, do a bit of bougie fancy building over there, do some medium builds over here, do some family homes over there, you know, just mix it all up. I feel like I would get extremely bored of this game really quick if I just always did the same thing. So, yeah, I don't know, I kind of enjoy doing, I don't want to say silly builds like this, but yeah, like this, I like to do different builds, different styles, a bit of everything, really. I was also listening to an audiobook while building part of this. Part of it I was also in a Discord call, so like for the first maybe half of it, I was in a Discord call, just hanging out, listening, chatting with people, but then obviously the call ended, so I kept building, and yeah, I was listening to an audiobook, and every time I see this build I keep thinking of that book, and I haven't listened to it since. I'm also not a huge audiobook person, but I was cooking dinner the night before I did this build, and I was like, I kind of want to read at the moment, but I'm cooking dinner, so I guess audiobook it is. So yeah, I decided to listen to an audiobook, and I'm not gonna lie, half the words went in one ear and out the other. I barely know what's happened, and I'm already at chapter 2. Something people, something uprising, something. Okay, cool. So I think I'm not gonna stick to audiobooks. I think I'm gonna keep to hard copies of books, because I'm not a huge fan of reading on my phone. I know some people really are, but my issue with that is I will get really sore eyes and stay up way later than, like, I'm talking like the sun is coming up and I'm still reading. Whereas when I have a physical copy of a book, I will read it, and then it'll get to about 2 a.m, and that's usually where I cut it off, is usually 2 a.m. I'm usually pretty good with, I could not tell you why. It's probably because the book's starting to get heavy in my hands, and I don't want to drop the book and damage it. I mean, drop the phone in my face, sure, probably do that. I have done that in the past, but dropping a book, no. Falling asleep with a book on me, absolutely not. Will not do that. I cannot stand the idea of a book being damaged. You know, I used to do origami as a kid, and someone wanted me to do something with a book and like turn it into origami, and the amount of physical pain that I was going through when I was ripping up the paper and like cutting it down to squares and whatnot. Oh my goodness. My poor little heart. I could not. I couldn't do it. Thankfully the book is like a very, very popular book. And if I wanted to get that book myself, I could. There's plenty of places to get these books, but yeah, it just and the worst bit is they were like, you can keep the book, like I don't need that, I just want the origami bit. And yeah, so I have a book on my shelf that like the first maybe chapter and a half are like ripped out, and I why did I do that? Why did I do that? And it is, yeah, it's something that bothers me. But yeah, long story short, I'm getting into reading again, which is good. My problem is I take 2 days to read a book. The first day I'll be pretty good. I'll be behaved, and I'll pace myself, and ooh, this is exciting, and I'm gonna put it down now, and I'm gonna go to bed. It is a little bit late, you know, maybe it's midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I started reading this a little bit late, so, you know, maybe tomorrow night I'll start reading a little bit earlier so that I can, you know, still read till midnight but still get good sleep. And then I'll start, and then like I'll start from where I left off, and then I'll look at the time after I finished and realize, oh, it's 2 a.m. I've gone to bed way past the time I meant to, and whoops. So yeah, basically every second night I can, the first of the 2 nights I'm really well, the second of the 2 nights I'm terrible. And I've been, reading quite a bit lately, so I've been having some pretty terrible sleep recently. I've also been writing. I do get the writing bug after reading, and yeah, same thing. I'll write till like 2 in the morning and then wake up and feel so exhausted because I was up till 2 in the morning, and I'm not a night owl. I really am not. I am somebody who thrives on good sleep and early sleep. And decent, I don't want to say early rising, but like not late rising, you know what I mean? I'm not rising before the sun, but I'm also not sleeping in the whole day. But yeah, that's not kind of happening. I do have an alarm as a safety net just in case I do stay up really late, because I do need to get up and do things, but it does mean that, yeah, I'm getting a little bit less sleep than I would like, which is not great. I'm someone who needs that sleep. I've spent my whole life making sure I get good sleep, and I'm very lucky to be able to get good sleep. But then, yeah, sometimes I'll make decisions that are not so smart, and it means that I am absolutely exhausted the next day. Like today, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, right now, right before I started recording this video, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna even be able to keep my eyes open for this. But I'm doing well. I think after recording the next video, I might go have a little nap. It just depends on whether or not my tea is kicked in or not. I might even make a second tea. You know what? I might make a second tea, because I love tea, and B, it's got slow acting caffeine, so it'll last a little bit longer throughout the day and keep me awake a little bit better. I'm not a coffee fan. If I were, I would definitely be having a coffee right now. But I can't get around the taste of it. I know that some people are like, yeah, the taste is not great, but it makes me feel good. I'm not like that. I crash so hard. That's why I recommend to people who do like drinking coffee, but you do crash, have a slow acting caffeine as well. It's the same with like, I've heard people who have diabetes or sugar spikes and sugar drops and things like that to help, or when they have a sugar drop, one thing that helps is having a slow acting sugar and a fast acting sugar, because the fast acting will bring you back up to where you need to be, but then the slow one will slow the descent so that you don't plummet again. And it kind of gets you back to a normal spot where you can kind of maintain it again. And so, yeah, I feel the sort of similar way about caffeine. It's, if you have just constant high caffeine all the time, you're going to have terrible sleep all the time. But if you balance it out with some slow acting caffeine, it helps you balance it out a lot better, because you're not just like running out flat, like doing this huge spike and then this huge plummet. It'll be a huge spike, but then the plummet will be reduced. Like, yes, you'll still come down, yes, you'll still get tired, everybody needs to sleep, but it'll reduce to the point where, yeah, like, it just softly goes down, and it hopefully means you can make it to the end of your day. Also, I've heard that eating apples, I think it's specifically green apples, are really good for you, and they have more caffeine than coffee, but I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a coffeeologist, so don't hold me on that. That's something I've heard. And it kind of makes a lot of sense, because for breakfast, I used to just have a green apple on my way to school as a kid. I would cut it up right before leaving for school, and I would walk to school. I didn't have to walk, but I did. I didn't... Yeah, I don't know, I just found walking better, and so I would walk and I would eat my apple, and by the time I got to school I'd feel alive to some degree of aliveness. And then, yeah, I would I wouldn't be as dead in the mornings. So, I don't know, yeah. If you want to, give it a try, and let me know how it goes, because, I mean, I don't know if this is just me thinking about something and being like, huh, that makes sense, or if it's actually true. So yeah, if you want to, definitely feel free to give it a go, and let me know how it goes. Does it wake you up? Does it make you feel more sleepy? Eating the apples or balancing the caffeine and having low? That's not what I meant to say. What's the word? Slow. That's the word. Slow and fast acting caffeine. Because I'd love to know, because I could do these things with myself, but my body might not react the way yours does, so I do find it to be important in experimentation to make sure that you get as many test subjects as possible. I am a former psychology student, so yeah, it's just been rammed into me as a student that, yeah, if you're going to perform experiments, the more people you include, the more reliable your results are. So, I could just look at myself and be like, oh, this is how it works for me, but just because that's how it works for me doesn't mean that's how it works for you. So, yeah, that's basically the end of that little ramble and rant. Yeah, I don't know, we did some pretty tame experiments in psychology, and I get why, like, especially during first year, because you can't really just go and experiment on random people and just hope that it doesn't mess them up. So, we did a lot of things with personality types, like, is it likely that this personality type will prefer this, or will they do that, or just stuff like that. And it was alright. Like, it wasn't anything too exciting, but also wasn't like super lame. I don't know, it's one of those things where, like, if you are a psych student, you want to get in and you want to find out all these nitty-gritty details of, like, does this affect that, or whatever, people look at, like, does video games encourage violence, things like that, and you don't really get to look at any of that. And I completely understand why. Even when you are doing your honors and whatnot, and like, you have to justify everything that you do to an ethics committee. And I had a bunch of teachers talk to me about ethics and whatnot, like, it's just in class and whatnot, because that is part of the course content, is looking at ethics. And yeah, one of the teachers was saying that when she was going up against the ethics board and trying to get her study approved of, they rejected it because of a typo, I think. like she misspelt her name or something, and it wasn't even like it wasn't even anything bad. She just literally mistyped one word, and they rejected the whole thing, and she had to redo the whole I was gonna say pitch, but like the whole project to pitch to them, to show them, to get their approval, just because she had that one little typo. They're that strict. So like it's so hard to get anything past them, which is probably why we had such simple I say experiments, but like case studies, I guess. We basically just handed out questionnaires to people, and then that was it. Also as a first, not just first year, but yeah, as a psych student, as an undergrad, that's the word I was looking for. As an undergrad, you were kind of expected to, or not expected, but you were asked to help post-grad students by filling out questionnaires for them and doing group studies and stuff like that for them, so that like they had people to do, like, partake in their experiments. So I did one that lasted like 2 years, where every 6 months I got a questionnaire on it was like body image beliefs and things like that. It was kind of interesting, I'm not gonna lie. It was like do I think, like, what do I think about my body? It was all these, like, on a scale of 1 to 5, rank all these questions, and some of them were, like, for the purpose of making sure that you're reading these questions, click, number 3, or number 5, or number 2, or whatever. And I don't know, I'm kind of sad that I don't get to see the results of that, but, yeah, no, it's interesting, because I know some people do suffer from body image issues, and I would say that I'm not someone who suffers with it per se, but I do recognize that sometimes I am a bit unhappy and harsh towards myself. So it was, I don't know, it was, again, like, I can understand why that wouldn't be allowed as an undergrad questionnaire, because, yeah, that could really upset some people. And, yeah, I mean, the other thing about being a psychology student participating in a psychological study is that you're learning about this stuff, so you're thinking about it, and it kind of skews it a little bit. But that is something that the postgrads definitely know about, because it's kind of drilled into you from undergrad, that if you do postgrad, you have to understand that undergrads are gonna kind of be a little bit, especially undergrads in psychology or similar fields, are going to be a little bit, I don't want to say biased, but they're going to be a little bit like catching on to what's going on and maybe reading into what you're studying, because I mean, some studies are obvious, like the one I did was on body image issues over time, and I because there wasn't anything else in that, I imagined that it was to do with age, perhaps. Like, does body image issues change with age as you age? Do body image issues, are they more prevalent in younger or older people? Like, it's something along those lines. That's what I believe the study was about. But being somebody who doesn't study psychology, you might look at it and go, well, it's probably just about body image issues, and then answer the questions based on that. But it could be something to do with age. Now, I know it wasn't something to do with gender or sex, because it was, I believe, only targeted towards females. When you add multiple layers of things to look at, it makes it much harder to analyze the data and look at it, so I can understand why they did that. And I guess I wouldn't really pay attention to the studies that are male-based. I did kind of ignore all of them because, I'm not a male and I just needed to get this done. Because for one of my classes, it was actually a part of my grade to participate in some of these studies. And yeah, so I wasn't really paying attention to the male side, I guess. And I just did what I needed to do. But yeah, it's stuff like that. Like, when you're a psych student, you do kind of think a little bit too much about it, and yeah, maybe it does skew it a little bit, but I know that these individuals who do these studies do have a lot of external people, and they do find, like, you know, they'll go to like family and friends and colleagues and stuff like that and get them to kind of fill it out and whatnot without explaining it, because yeah, as soon as you explain it, you kind of skew the data due to bias and things like that. But anyway, I don't think you guys came here to to learn about psychology today, but you know, there you go, there's the little ramble for today. Yeah, I mean, if you ever are interested in psychology, it is definitely something you do have to pay attention to. But yeah, I hope that was informative for some of you who maybe haven't done psychology before or are interested in it and never really thought about that. But we are getting close to the end of this video. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, at this point, I was kind of getting to a part in the build where I was like, I don't really know what to do anymore. You can kind of see me jumping around a bit like that. But I just felt like the plants were so samey and I didn't know what else to do, so I kind of honestly didn't do much more than the little bit of landscaping that I put in here. But yeah, if you guys have enjoyed this video, you can definitely let me know your thoughts down below on it, but you also can let me know by subscribing. I come out with a new video every single day, except for the last 2 to 3 days of February, depending on if it is a leap year or not. But I guess you guys don't really have to worry about that until next year, which shouldn't be a leap year. I don't think it is. Anyway, yeah, but if you guys enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.